Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's Joe and Joe weather show on the 22nd of September. Autumn has arrived, and it has arrived here by me. It is 60. It's 60 degrees right now, and I've been in the low 60s all afternoon. In fact, I was at 59 at noon today when the front went by. The Joe and Joe weather show brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York. Winter's coming soon enough, and they got salt, and they're going to be getting tons of salt and at the best prices in town. Pelleto, Mag Ice Pellets and Flakes, everything you need with regards to clearing up and getting those snow removals done. 631-756-1125 is the phone number there. And the website is omnitruevalue.com. And don't forget, they are a local Long Island business. And so is Wholesale Holiday Lighting by Giannini, your complete holiday lighting specialist, meeting all your decorating needs with Halloween coming up and Christmas coming up. And for you contractors out there where this is your business, or maybe you want to make it your business, they're having a holiday lighting open house. It's a free event on Tuesday, October the 5th, between 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. at 164 Ocean Avenue in Lindenhurst, right next door to 162 Ocean Avenue in Lindenhurst. You can RSVP by calling them at 631-957-5106 or go to the website liholidaylighting.com. And while you're there, you can take a look at all the wonderful decorating things that they have that they can put outside your house. 100 days, Joe. Less than 100 days till Christmas. What is it, like 93 days?
So it's 100. It's 100 days to the end of the year.
Right.
So if you have anything that you had planned to do in 2021, you have 100 days to do it before we transition into the new year. And of course, since Christmas comes 7 days before the new year, you're right. 93 days to go.
93 days. Oh,
isn't that amazing?
It is. And by the way, I was wearing a sweatshirt this afternoon because it was in the upper 50s to around 60 with blue sky and sunshine and a brisk northwest wind at 20 to 25 miles an hour, which led me to the poll question tonight, which is, and don't be so sure, by the way, they got you beating me here. 60% say you, 40% say me. We're going to come back to this because I think I'm going to wind up getting below 32 before you do.
Hey, you're a good 2,000 feet higher than I am. My elevation is 450 feet. You're what, about 20? Actually, a little under 2,000 feet. You're what, 2,200 feet above sea level?
2,200, yeah.
That could very well be. And look at this. Today I got to 80 degrees, and not only was it 80, Joe, but the humidity, the dew point temperatures,
they're
were in the high 60s.
I was looking at the dew points at 7 o'clock. They're in the upper 60s and low 70s. It's just awful.
Yeah. Well, we've got this front coming in for tomorrow night, and so interaction with all this juicy air is likely to squeeze out quite a bit of showery, rainy weather here, maybe some gusty storms as well. So that's tomorrow night. From now till about, I think, maybe mid-afternoon tomorrow, just a few spotty light showers here and there, more often than not dry. But the humidity, again, is going to be on the high side. And tomorrow, maybe not quite as warm as today. I'm saying temperatures here in the Hudson Valley, 73 to 76 degrees with lots of cloud cover. And then hopefully the beginning of kind of squeezing all of this moisture out and eventually pushing out all of this humid air to set the stage for what looks like a nice, bright, and decent first weekend of fall.
Yeah, and the rain tomorrow is probably going to get to western New Jersey or the Jersey-Pennsylvania line probably later in the morning or early in the afternoon. And then it's just going to stop for a while. So
it's going to take a sweet time in getting here.
Yeah, those areas that get from westernmost New Jersey westward, you could, even though it's going to be sort of like a stick as we described it, of rain and thunderstorms and possibly some severe weather, and there's even tornado risk per SPC. If you get that stick and it takes 6 hours for it to go through, you could wind up with some flash flooding. And I saw the Weather Service extended flash flood watches for the Hudson Valley, and they had it up for northwest New Jersey, but now they got all of northern New Jersey in a flash flood watch, and a good chunk of eastern Pennsylvania, all the way down through Maryland and western Virginia, where our Johnny Quest asks, does it have to be a law enforcement, or can anyone report severe weather to the Weather Service? No, you could report. You certainly could report your findings to the Weather Service. I think if you go, I know on the New York site, there's a link there that you can submit a report. So I'm not sure whether your local Weather Service has the same link on there, but yeah, you should be able to report that. And also, for those of you who are interested in this, you should check the Weather Service websites, because from time to time they do give classes that lead to certification for you to be a weather observer. Skywarn. So every once in a while I'll see them posted. Usually they have those in the spring. So I'll keep an eye open, as every once in a while I do see the Skywarn posts from the local offices. And if that's what you want to do, it's certainly open to you. Also, I just want to tell those of you who are on my weather plot, subscribe to my subscription site on patreon.com/meteorologist Joe Chaffee. Apparently, the notifications and messages, or notifications of messages, are may be going into your spam folder in your email. So you might want to check your spam folders and change the setting to allow those notifications and messages to come on through. So just a little bit of a heads up on that. We have no shocker, we have a new tropical depression in the Atlantic, the system that's way out in the tropical Atlantic, and the Hurricane Center pretty aggressive in their forecast, Joe. They're taking it to 100 knots. The major hurricane status by day 5. So, and as we looked over the last couple of days in that whole zone there, between 10 degrees north and about just south of 20 degrees north, that 600-mile north-south stretch, and virtually all across the tropical Atlantic, there's very little wind shear. So the system will probably have ideal conditions for strengthening, and maybe at some point rapid strengthening will probably occur. So the mystery is going to be how the models seem to be handling this. The European drives it pretty much straight west or west northwest right through its 10-day forecast period, and takes it skimming along the northern leewards and Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic. The GFS recurves it east of 60, and the thing to watch for is the fact that the two models are completely different in what's going on off the East Coast in terms of a trough versus a ridge. So obviously that is going to make a big difference in terms of where this is all going to wind up. But we've got many days to watch this.
As we said yesterday and the day before yesterday, at least in my humble opinion, especially in this type of situation, once you go beyond 5 days, you can look at the 10-day and the 12-day outlook from the GFS. That is, and you actually the one who said this, Joe, all the way like 20, 30 years ago. I remember you when I asked you, said, did you get the 10-day prog? He says, oh, you mean the science fantasy or the science fiction
prog? Yeah.
Because it's true. It's true, because you know, and I know that whatever the 10-day or even the 15-day prog shows, it's not going to work out that way. So, and that's why I say watch it, because if in 10 days it shows this new system 18 is how the Hurricane Center is referring to it as right now, it probably will become Sam. If in 10 or 12 days you see the upper level winds pushing Sam, up, out, and away from the mid-Atlantic coastline, that's not the time to breathe a sigh of relief, because, as I said, what you see 10 or 12 days out rarely ever verifies So there's always that chance that this system may be further to the east or to the right or further to the west or to the left. We'll just have to play it out and see how this all goes. But that big opening that you pointed out, was it yesterday on the upper level wind map? I mean, there's a large opening of hardly any wind shear, perfect environment. That's exactly where Sam, or soon to become Sam, is heading. And if it gets into that zone, all bets are off. I mean, they are indeed by day 5 saying this will be a major hurricane. It could very well be that, and maybe even more. Who's to say? We're just past the peak of the hurricane season. The waters out there are probably about as warm as they're going to get. So that'll be something to watch between now and, well, whenever.
Yeah, I loaded the loop. What did I do with it? Oh, here it is. So this is the floater loop on Tropical Depression 18. You take a look at this, Joe. It's already pretty well defined. It's every bit certainly a depression, and it could very well already be a tropical storm. We'll see what the Hurricane Center does with this at 11 o'clock tonight. But you'll notice
you already got like the feathery on the southern end. The outflow bands have already begun to develop. That's crazy. And there's one band off to the north, obviously. But you're right. This thing looks like it's loaded for.
Look at that east. It almost looks like a pigtail there. You see that there's an east-west band of thunderstorms on the northern fringe. They're like these little cotton balls. You know, whenever you see stuff like this, it's kind of telling you the atmosphere there is pretty ripe and it's ready to blow. And again, unlike what we saw with Peter, and unlike what we saw with Rose, which are just all but gone now anyway, the environment in just a matter of less than a few days has changed completely across the tropical Atlantic to favor steady strengthening, and eventually could even favor rapid strengthening. So we're going to follow this along, of course. And the plots on the hurricane tracking models are basically to the right of the European. The European is pretty far left, but they all recurve this well east of the northern Leeward Islands. And you see it where it starts out at 10 degrees north and not even quite to 35 degrees west there on the initial position. And then just sort of a gradual, west-northwest course to maybe northwest toward the end. But I would caution here at this point, given what's going on. I think we're probably going to see some changes in this along the way. And the intensity guidance is very bullish. Just about all of them have this at least as a minimal hurricane. You got a whole bunch of them as a Cat 2. You've got one that goes up to a Cat 3, and there's a few other models that are not, plotted here that show this being even beyond a Cat 3. So again, it's the conditions out in the tropical Atlantic are about as good as they're going to get with regards to favoring development. Now, since I have the map up here, we can just take a look at what's going on in the longer range. And of course, we've got this upper low that's lifting northeastward, which is up into Canada, which is why it's taking forever for this darn cold front to come through. The next one that follows behind it for the weekend is going to move along. Now, this is where you start to see some of the differences in the GFS versus the European. Taking a look at the GFS, and you can see the system SAM now being pushed northwestward, and that's because the GFS leaves a trough behind off the southeast coast of the United States and then sends some reinforcing energy down into that trough around the middle of next week. And then, of course, it goes up and out. Doesn't even make it to 60. Now, it's all fine and dandy if the GFS is correct here in dropping this trough. The bottom part of it gets left behind off the southeast coast, and then another one just kind of comes down and reinforces it. And the Europeans got a bit of a different view on this. As often happens, the models kind of diverge a bit in the long range. And here we have the European, which, for one thing, the GFS seems to rush this thing westward. The Europeans is much slower. So here's your trough off the East Coast. Now, this is on next Tuesday. So you've got westerlies down almost to 30 degrees north. And if nothing were to change, this thing would probably go around the ridge and then, move on out to the northeast. But what the European does is that it cuts off a low. I should make sure I got the time frame here because I was looking at the 0Z. Maybe I was looking at the wrong run. This is the 12Z. So now it cuts off
this 12Z.
low.
12Z.
Now look at this, Joe. It cuts off this upper low and it cuts off this trough and deepens it where we've got a cutoff sitting off the mid-Atlantic coast, and it's dropping it southwestward. It's just really weird. Now you can make a case for this to just go up and out, where it goes up on the eastern side of that upper low and then comes around the top of that ridge and goes. But I have to tell you, I'm a little bit, again, as I said yesterday, I'm kind of, there's a lot of uncertainty here with how these models are handling the upper air along the East Coast during next week. And I was told, by the way, I didn't see them, but I was told that some of the European EPS members are much further to the left than the operational. So I think the door is open here for a lot of different things to happen. And if we go back to the 0Z run, which is what I was probably looking at earlier today, no, I was definitely looking at that earlier today. But just take a look at the 0Z run here on how it handled. And of course, any of these are possibilities here. The European takes that, doesn't really drop a trough down off the East Coast. It just kind of swings an arm around off New England, and there's more of an Atlantic ridge. So you can see how it takes Sam over the northern Leeward Islands and over Puerto Rico, and then just kind of getting ready to skim the Dominican Republic. So many possibilities here down the road as to how this is all going to play out. We're going into a blocky pattern. I would expect the models to continue to be unstable from run to run. So, as you said, Joe, it's a fool's game to put any faith in any one solution in the long range at this stage of this particular game.
I'm looking at the European Ensemble.
By the way, you do have sharing capability, I believe. Let me just double check.
Well, I would share if there was something really amazing to show you, except that on the Ensemble that I'm looking at, there is absolutely no sign of Sam or what soon is going to become Sam in the foreseeable. This goes out to 360 hours, and I don't see anything. It just looks like there's just, so one.
Well, we know that's wrong. Well, we know that's going to be wrong.
Yeah, usually it picks up on stuff like this, but it's not picking up. Let me go to the North American. I'm going to go back to the Ensemble. Let me just see what it says or shows for North America and sees if it has any sign of Sam on, because it's a larger area to look at. So
Sam, I am.
No, still, it really doesn't show much of any. I'll share with you and I'll show you what I'm looking at.
Go ahead.
Okay, so here is the ensemble, the European ensemble, and this is now as we progress. This is initialized at 12Z today, and you'd expect that by the time we get to early next week, that we'd see some semblance of Sam about here, somewhere around here.
Right.
And there's nothing. It doesn't show
unless
much
it's
of anything.
Unless it's maybe, that kink, that right there. You see that kink right there, that little closed isobar. Well, these are the ensembles, so you get this very broad brush view of what it, it's a mean of everything. So you're only going to see, sometimes you could have a major hurricane out there and there's going to be one there, and all it'll show is a kink in the isobar, which is kind of what we're seeing there. So it's probably in that what looks like an inverted trough.
Let me just quickly let me go to the GFS ensemble again for North America, and it's already running the 18Z ensemble, believe it or not. But look back to the 12Z, and okay, so this now, this is the United States. I want to go back to North America. Okay, so let's see if we see any kind of semblance on the, well, maybe this could be it.
That's probably it, Joe.
That's probably it right there.
That's the GFS ensembles?
Yeah.
Well, I can pull that up over tropical tidbits too. I just figured I haven't looked at the Canadian in a while. So I just pulled up the Canadian, which at 240 hours has it just east of the Bahamas.
Okay, that's the Canuck version of.
Although I can't read the pressure there, and there's also some new system in the tropical Atlantic behind it. So, it's getting to the point we're going to blow through the whole name list. It's not even going to be October yet.
Huh. Well, we are running a few names behind last year. That's a good thing. But maybe we instead of penetrating and going beyond the list of names this year, maybe we'll come to a screeching halt at the end of the list this year.
Yeah, well, we're almost there. I mean, what's left after it's T, V, and W? So 3 more named storms get you through this list. And you got to figure, there's certainly plenty of time to get at least 2 or 3 more out of this, unless we get into one of these years where, and sometimes it happens, where it just shuts down after the first week or 2 of October, and then you don't see anything, unless something is,
right.
way out in the Atlantic or something, which, is a fish storm. But look, I always like to use the phrase, you have many runs to go. Well, we have many, many, many runs to go here before this is going to be even remotely relevant. So we'll just leave it at that for now, and let's go back home and take a look at what's going on with regards to the current weather. Which, hang on, I just want to close a few windows here. And let's start with the watches and warnings map for tonight. Okay. I told Joe before we started the show, I'm a step behind because for some reason, I don't know if it's the air outside or what, but I'm just a teensy bit.
Well, you're the one who's bragging about how cool and refreshing it is where you are. If anything, I should be the one who's tired with all of the humidity and the heat and the out there today. It was just, it's very, very tiring when you're out in this kind of weather for any length of time.
It is. And we've got flash flood warnings for central and eastern PA. We've got a working tornado watch in western PA, although a number of counties are now out of it. Flash flood watches cover much of Maryland down to, and they've also added, by the way, South Central PA is now in it. Southeast PA is now in this flash flood watch. And it goes down through the western mountains of Virginia, where Johnny Quest has his rowboat out. And we're going to, again, it's the slow movement of this front that's problematic. And also some flash flood watches up in northwest Ohio, southeastern Michigan, and in a couple of counties in northeastern Indiana. And I mean, look at the rotation in the looks like it's probably centered somewhere in Illinois. It's barely moving east. And you got this arm of heavy showers and thunderstorms that are swinging up the East Coast there, but inland of the coast, up the Appalachians. And that's who's getting it today. And, of course, with the upper low, that upper low is not moving eastward. It's actually going to be moving more. It's going to be moving northward. You have to wait. You got to wait for it to go up into eastern Canada and for the front to get a little bit of a push to get further to the east. And that means tomorrow is going to be another day of soupy humidity ahead of all of this.
Yes, not soupy sales, but soupy humidity. And but I think, Joe, that tomorrow is going to be the last day for a while, because once the front goes on by, I'm now, I don't know how, I haven't seen your outlook or forecast, but I'm thinking that for Friday, the day starts with maybe a lingering shower or even a rumble of thunder. But by midday, all of that is pushed on out to the east. The skies are brightened, the sun comes out, the humidity has come down, and it also is a bit cooler. And I think that'll be the beginnings of what we will have. It looks like a protracted spell. I think we well up in the 60s to near 70 dew point wise tomorrow. But then in the 50s we go for Friday, all the way through the middle part of next week.
50s?
That'll be most delightful.
Is that all? Pitch posh.
Yeah. How
They're
about 40s? I mean,
well,
maybe upper 40s on Wednesday.
a pish posh. Their forecast. I mean, the local forecast here, I believe, is for 47 tonight and 43 at the. That's at the airport. 43 at for Friday morning. So if the airport gets to 43, I may get down to 40. So I didn't want to. I could have said who. No, I did say that. I said which of us will see in the poll tonight, which is now up to 87 votes. Joe Rayo leading 63 to 37 on which of us sees 40 degrees first. So I would have voted
My
for me.
goodness.
I would have voted for me.
Well, I'll how about saying stop the count?
Well,
Oh dear.
here's the radar tonight, and you see some spotty showers. I noticed this morning there were a couple of showers off the Jersey coast that formed and developed and went over parts of eastern Long Island. They just kind of came and went rather quickly. But there's other showers in upstate New York and some showers now working their way up through Chesapeake Bay and moving into south central PA near Harrisburg. And then you see this line of storms, and this is with your front right in here, which is already whipped through me. The upper low being where it is causing the southern end of that front to actually move faster than the northern end, is what the bottom line is. And again, you'll notice again, not that much eastward progress here. Very little eastward progress so far, which is problematic for those folks that are inside those showers because they're coming up from the south. So you don't get a break until the whole front shifts to the east, and that's just not going to happen. It's not in a big hurry for that to happen.
Right. It's when you got that closed system, especially, that's going to slow everything down, and yeah, it's going to take a while. It's going to be, and I think, Joe, that the best time or depending upon your viewpoint, it's either the best time or the worst time. The best chance of seeing really significant rainfall is going to come from about maybe late afternoon or evening tomorrow through the entire overnight hours tomorrow night, and then petering down quickly after sunrise on Friday. And during that time, depending upon where you happen to live relative to that front, as it moves or plods slowly toward the east, it could range anywhere from 1.5 inches to maybe, in the most extreme case, 2.5 inches of rain. So it looks like we're going to have another significant precipitation event in what is turning out to be one of the wettest summers that we've had in quite a few years around here.
I saw somebody put one of those meme things up. It was a puddle of water with a guy, just all that was coming out of the puddle of water were his two hands in a show of approval. And the question read, "Wasn't it a great summer?" And he's like, all drowned. Here's some of the Weather for Service forecast rainfall amounts. I want to look. I didn't get a chance to pull them up, so I'll try to pull them up in the meantime if I can remember where they are. The rainfall forecast amounts for through Friday, and yeah, as Joe you pointed out, areas you go east of New York City and the amounts drop off, which makes sense because when this front reaches the coast, those showers, those showers are gonna weaken, and the rains are gonna tail off. But in Pennsylvania, where you've got in central and eastern Pennsylvania, where you're going to see raining, nonstop for hours at a time as the front approaches you and moves on through, generating anywhere from 2.5 to some amounts like 3.25. 3 1/3 inches of rain, certainly possible. 2-inch plus amounts in northern New Jersey, 1.5 inch amounts up the Hudson Valley, some 3-inch amounts up in the Catskills. I don't know how much we've dried up since the big rains of a couple of weeks ago with Ida and whatever weather system it was that followed that, where the flash flood thresholds are. So I think that's I'm going to check that. I'm going to try to see if I can pull them up a little bit later on. SPC is part of this equation too. We have a marginal risk of severe weather from South Carolina up through western PA and eastern Ohio, where there's a slight risk, and a tornado watch. You see that there in red. Now, they haven't really changed anything with regards to the severe weather risk for tomorrow in the eastern United States, in the Northeast. It's pretty much the same. They've kind of nudged the marginal risk maybe a shade further to the east on Long Island, but it still runs right along the Connecticut-New York state line, up through the Hudson Valley, the Catskills, south central New York, the eastern half of Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, and into eastern Virginia. And I mean, you're going to get that daytime heating, the dew points in the 70s, and they're indicating a 2% tornado risk for eastern PA, almost all of New Jersey except the coast. I'd say in the Hudson Valley west of the Hudson River, up into the Catskills. So another. I'm thinking, Joe, this is probably the most I've seen in a summer season where we've seen so many, and rightfully so, considering how much tornadic activity we've seen. Seeing these 2% and 5% risk zones, I can't remember a summer where we've seen so many of these.
Remember when it was, growing up in the 60s and 70s, if you heard that New York City or any part of the tri-state area was under, Lord, a tornado watch? A tornado watch? Can you believe that, Martha? That was such a rare, event to see something like that. That's when you go, wow, that's something. And now, we got another tornado watch up. It's like a drop in the bucket now, especially for this particular summer season, as you just alluded to, Joe. By the way, I think you could see it on your screen. I'm sharing the front page of the New York Times from 83 years ago.
All right, hold on.
83 years ago. 83 years ago yesterday, we had the so-called Long Island Express that came on up and swept right across east central Long Island. Although at that time, I think that the Times and most of the weather observers weren't quite sure exactly where the storm was and where it ended up. But this system sideswiped New York City. It was 65 miles to the east of New York. I'm not sure, whether or not it was moving at a very rapid forward speed.
Yeah, 50 or 60 miles an hour.
Combined with its actual, potency, or combined with the circulation of the storm winds, it was probably the equivalent of a Cat 3 when it came. And if you talk about a buzzsaw, this thing was literally like a buzzsaw, but it cut right across east central Long Island, and almost, total destruction. Well, not total, but heavy destruction in Providence, Rhode Island, with, as you can see in the headline here, hit by a tidal wave. I mean, it's 6 feet of water in the streets of the business sections, many homeless. Woonsocket also suffers. New York City, hard hit. One person dead, 3 die, it looks like, in West Hampton. This was a major, major weather event. And again, it really was not seen. It was not something that was forecast, even a few days in advance. This came right up, right in, and did a real big number on not just the tri-state area, although we actually were lucky. I mean, being 65 miles away from landfall, all we got out of it was just some very strong winds and very heavy rain, like maybe 4 or 5 inches. But the folks who were right in the crosshairs of this thing, man, this was I even heard that it did tremendous damage, devastating parts of the Green Mountains in Vermont. As it came across Long Island Sound, went up into Rhode Island, and then literally took Interstate 91, if you will, although it didn't exist back in 1938, right up through the Connecticut River Valley. And again, that all happened 83 years ago, as reported by the New York Times. You could see all the news that's fit the print, and it was certainly
Providence, Rhode Island, probably got hit the hardest out of all of this. There's a lot of stuff regarding the impact to southeastern New England, but particularly to Providence, where I think they had something like 15 feet of water in downtown Providence. The whole ocean basically came into the bay and just rolled right up into the city. I always like seeing the old newspapers with stuff like this.
Storm's full fury hits Long Island. Devastation. This is again the 1938 storm. Devastation exceeds any ever witnessed there. At least 71 people were missing, and they refer to it as the tropical hurricane that roared up from the south yesterday and vented its fullest force locally at the middle of Long Island, and that was absolutely true.
And Long Island in those days, it was basically farms and fishing villages. It's not like what it is today. It's not any. I can only imagine what it would look like if there's ever a repeat performance of this over central and eastern Long Island, considering how built up it is now. So, well, anyway, that's all in theory. Let's hope it doesn't happen. It will eventually, but let it happen on someone else's shift, and not ours.
It actually created Shinnecock Inlet.
Yes,
that storm. So that was one for the books. Bill Corbell, our good friend, who I think we'll be inviting soon on the Joe and Joe shows, because he even asked, he'd be happy to come back.
Now, I haven't gotten his check yet, Joe. We'll just have to, if I have to deposit it, got to make sure it clears, that kind of thing.
Bill, after he saw the newspaper headline from 38 on my Facebook page, he just simply he said, we're overdue for something like that. And yeah, he's probably right. But I agree with you. Let's not have it happen on our watch. Let's have it happen, if it does happen, like well after we're out of this crazy. Can you
imagine the gas baggery that would go on if something like that were to happen? I mean, looking at just what happened now, do you not think that there would be unbelievable gas baggery from the elected windbags regarding and here I am speaking about something that isn't even going to happen at this time, or hopefully, as I said and you said, not in our lifetimes. But I can only imagine, given the way they've reacted to these weather events in the past 10 years, how they would come out, how they would handle this one. Well, anyway, let's hope we don't have to go down that road.
I just want to show everybody again. I'm sharing on the screen here just to show you the path. This started out as an African wave, came off into the Atlantic Ocean, passed to the south of the Cabo Verde Islands, which is here, then they continued on its merry way, unimpeded by any landfall with, let's say, Puerto Rico or the Leeward Islands or Haiti or Cuba. It just stayed out over the ocean, and then it made this amazing turn to the north and cut right through Long Island and then up across New England, finally settling down somewhere to the east of Toronto. By that time, it was probably just nothing more than just an extratropical low pressure system. But Tom Cortino on the chat board said, did we have a weather bureau back then? Didn't they issue warnings back then? Well, Tom, yes, we did have. It was the United States Weather Bureau in New York. But Tom, this is where the storm was. It was down here the day before, and it made a rapid chase to the north with tremendous forward speed of, as Joe mentioned, like 40, 50 miles an hour. They really didn't have any clue. They knew of, and they must have heard of some kind of tropical system that was down here, let's say, east of Florida. But, using general climatology, 9 times out of 10, when you had something like this down here, you'd expect it to go up and turn and curve away like that out over the ocean. And this thing, almost unprecedented, straight north, cutting across Long Island and causing all of that destruction. No, I don't think. And that would be interesting, Joe. Not a Tom Cortino. I don't
I
have the
see.
time obviously now to do it.
I know that a number of the fishermen kind of figured out that something big was going on by
The
how
old salt.
right
Yeah.
by how the ocean. I remember reading and hearing of stories of some of the fishermen that were there. You know, that was their life, and they were there all their lives, and they kind of saw it in the way the ocean was behaving, that something wasn't right. So, um, and there are stories of some of them spreading the word around, trying to get people to evacuate their homes on the shore. And of course, you know how those stories come out. Some people listen, some people don't, and you know that's just the way it goes. But yeah,
It'll be interesting
I
though.
don't know what the history of the Weather Service history of that is, but
Well, what I was
it'll
going to
be
say is
interesting
since
to find out.
I have access. Since I have access to the old newspapers, what I'll do is maybe later tonight I'll look at the National Weather Service, the United States Weather Bureau forecast for the day of the storm, and see what they called for. Maybe a chance of showers,
See if
or something along those lines.
See if the mayor of New York at the time said that they weren't warned by the weather people, because I believe it was
I'm sure that
I believe it was
Jimmy
LaGuardia at the
Walker,
time. No, I
LaGuardia,
might
or
have been.
Jimmy Walker.
I'm going to say LaGuardia.
All right, before the airport was named after him.
Right, correct. Okay, so that's your job. Then you can
My homework
your
assignment.
homework assignment. You look all of that up, and in the meantime, let's get back to what we were doing here. If I can find there we go, and let's get the map back up on the screen. So WPC, it's all front end loaded. You can see the amount of rain that they're forecasting here in central and eastern PA, several inches. You got a little stick of 1.5 inches plus running from coastal New Jersey to New York City up the Hudson Valley, which probably is the reason why they extended the flash flood watches the way they did. And after this is all from this lead system here, because after this, it does look like we're going to be mainly on the quiet side through the weekend and through a good chunk of next week. So that'll be a big plus. And here we go. Let me bring up. That's a peek of that Canadian model I was telling you about with what is SAM east of the Bahamas. Again, it's all going to be about the upper trough in the east. Meanwhile, it's not that we're ignoring the western part of the United States, but the weather's great there. So
there's not much to talk about.
No, it's just one sentence. The weather's great. It's late summer, early fall, typical stuff. There's nothing unusual. Glory, hallelujah. Let's look at the new GFS here. I'll bring up let me get the radar version, not the precip version. Always makes it look like it's raining everywhere on the precip version. And then you look at the radar and it's not quite the same. So here we are for Wednesday night. The GFS actually doesn't line up badly with what's actually on the radar. And then again, takes almost all day for that rain to move eastward, finally reaching the coast late tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening. And you see how narrow it is. So it just sits over the area all night. The GFS has the back edge at about New York City at 8 a.m. and by 2 p.m. it's all gone. Some leftover rains up in northern New England, and then that moves out. Looks like, Joe, we get a weak front that comes through here on, I don't know, is it just looking at the isobars, maybe Saturday night or early Sunday, because the upper trough is swinging through, and that creates some showers up in Maine. But I think the weather, everybody, from southern New England southward should be fine and dandy. And then looking at next week, starting to see some systems coming into the Pacific Northwest early next week. But as they make it across, they really don't have much to work with. High pressure in the eastern part of the United States, at least through Wednesday. You see those showers there from Texas on up to Minnesota, and the high holding in the east. On the lower right, you see the GFS has what is SAM just kind of on the edge of the screen before it goes out. But then because it leaves that trough off the southeast coast, it develops some kind of other low there in the Bahamas. It takes it west-southwestward into Miami and then into the Gulf of Mexico. So again, there's so much noise on these models going forward that from the standpoint of the tropical system down the road. We'll punt to tomorrow and see what that has to say.
Yeah, we'll see.
Okay.
But I'm just looking forward to late Friday into the weekend, because it looks like we're going to have a nice stretch. But one of the things, like, it's unfortunate, is that with all of the rain that we've had this summer season, Joe. I mean, the other day, we had the local tree guy, and he took down a few trees and got rid of a lot of the kudzu, and a lot of the weeds and trees that we really don't need, and we wanted to make mulch out of it, and he did. But normally he would have put the mulch on the side of our driveway on the grass, and in other years when he's done that, no problem. Couldn't do it this year, because when the truck started moving onto the grass, the ground was so soft, he was actually digging up part of the lawn on the side. So he had to dump it on part of our driveway with a tarpaulin, of course. But the ground is just so soft from like 20 or 25 inches of rain that we've had so far this summer season. Now here comes more to come. So there'll be a nice dry weekend, but the ground will still continue to be very soft. It's sharp contrast to about, I don't remember the year, about 15 years ago when I walked on the grass, it crunched. That's how dry it was. And this is like the antithesis of that. This is it's just amazing how moist and how wet everything is. As we ended the summer on a wet note, and now we are into the fall season officially.
Yep, it's finally here. I'm a happy man. I love the autumn personally. It's my favorite time of year. If the leaves could just somehow, rake themselves. Although here in the North Georgia mountains, we don't rake leaves. Nature just takes its course, and they will degenerate. I noticed the leaves that when I moved in here early last winter, the leaves from the fall, once we get into the spring and the hot weather comes, they all disintegrate into the ground. So I'm not doing it. I'm just not doing
As I
it.
as I said, I think once before on this channel, to me, there are days when I look outside, and it looks like instead of a green lawn, I have an orange carpet with all the leaves that have fallen. You go out there, you rake, you mulch it into the ground, you get rid of it as best you can, and then you go to bed. And the following morning, when you wake up and look out the window, it looks like you hadn't done a darn thing, because more leaves are coming down. And it's not, as I said, it's not like the wintertime. In the wintertime, you can get like, 2 to 5 or 3 to 6 inches of snow with a snowstorm. You go out there with your snow shovel or your snow blower, blow it away. And most of the time, usually, you're done for a few more days or another week or two. Not with autumn. With autumn, especially around here, as we get deep into October, it's like one day after another day after another day.
Yeah.
They just keep coming down. I'd love to see those colors hang on the trees for a longer period of time, but ultimately they all end up on my lawn, and somebody's got to go out there and do it.
I remember from my drives down here that at least last year, the fall colors here were more toward November, the end of October, beginning of November. So, but I guess that all depends on when the first frosts are concerned. Of course, elevation makes a difference here too. So I'm going to be curious I already have leaves down, so I'll be curious to see, and actually anxiously awaiting the leaf color change in the mountains here, because I know it's going to be gorgeous. All right, let's do a little Briller Jeopardy. And tonight, Mr. Rayo, this is an interesting one. You have to, can you name the first 10 presidents in order? But they don't have to be in order, I'm sorry. But can you name the first 10 presidents of the United States?
Okay, well, we have George Washington.
Right.
John Adams.
Right.
Thomas Jefferson.
Right.
Was William Henry Harrison among the first 10?
Yes, he was the 9th.
Number 9. Okay. Right. There was another Harrison, wasn't there? Benjamin Harrison?
Well, one of the Harrisons is in there, not the other one. Just the first one. I'm thinking.
Okay.
I'm thinking. Wait a minute. I'm thinking Benjamin Harrison was. Yeah. He was here because yeah. There's. He was a bachelor. He he lived with the senator from Alabama, and there's always speculation about what kind of a relationship they had. Anyway, so we have
All right.
Washington,
So
Adams, Jefferson, and Harrison. So you got 4 out of 10 so
William
far.
Henry Harris. All right.
Now William Henry Harrison was like or 1900, the very beginning of 1900, if I remember correctly.
All right. All right.
So this was Benjamin Harrison, the bachelor.
The Bachelor. Dolly Madison. Who's Dolly married to? I know the wife better than I know the actual president. Dolly Madison was married to James Harrison.
Right, Jimmy. His friends called him Jimmy. Jimmy Harrison. All right, so go on.
So I had John Adams, John Quincy Adams.
Yes, grandson of John Adams,
okay.
I believe.
Right.
Next.
And we know. I know that Lincoln was number 16, so he's not on that list.
Right.
Let's see. Darn it, Joe! This is a toughie. Do I get it? Well, I can't get any leeway. I have to name them. I can't. I can't say I was within 3 of anything here. How about not Andrew Johnson, Andrew Jackson?
Yes, Andrew Jackson is on the list. Correct.
He's also on the $10 bill, right? So for the moment, what was that in Hamilton?
No, Jackson's on the. St. Jackson. Hold on, let me open my wallet. Let's see. Jackson is on the 20.
Okay. How about Zachary Taylor?
How about Zachary Taylor? Old Zach for short.
Is he among the 10? The first 10?
All right, hang on. Let me go back and check. I'm switching pages back. I'm sorry,
but you have a list there, don't you?
Yeah, I have the list. I'm sorry. What was the name?
Either he's on the list or he's not on the list.
Give me the name again, because I just forgot who you said.
Zachary Smith. Zachary Taylor.
Zachary Smith. Zachary Taylor is not among the first 10 presidents.
Oh, all right. All right. And
when you got Washington, Adams, Jefferson, Madison, Quincy, John Quincy, Jackson,
right,
Benjamin Harrison. So you're missing 3 of them.
Millard Fillmore.
No,
I'm picking names now that I know that
Millard Fillmore. Millard Fillmore was the nation's 13th president.
Oh, lucky.
And I think he goes down as being one of the most boring presidents that we've ever had.
All right.
How and about, I've actually, I think that's where because I think he's buried up in New Hampshire. And I believe, if I remember correctly, I went to his grave. You could see how, his house was there that he was born and grew up in, but of course it was closed. This was pre-pandemic, so they didn't even have it open when they could be open.
So the character on MASH was Benjamin Franklin Pierce, Hawkeye.
Right.
How about Franklin Pierce?
No. Let me know when you give up.
You got me in the head. You got me like a pro wrestler. You got me in the full Nelson.
Okay,
the referee is like.
I'm trying to see if I can. It's kind of hard to give you a clue. Try to come up with a clue.
Oh, I know. School in the Bronx. James Monroe.
James Monroe. Okay, that's correct. So now
What was he?
He was number 5. So you have 2 left.
2 left.
Mm-hmm.
So wait a minute now. I mentioned Washington.
Right.
It would be funny if I got this far and I didn't mention Washington.
Well, no, you did. Washington, Adams, Jefferson, Madison,
Adams,
Monroe.
Jefferson, Madison,
Monroe, John Quincy Adams, Jackson. So you're missing
Jackson.
You're missing number 8 and number 10. Okay, so I would just say the nation's 10th president.
Wait a minute. John Buchanan. John Buchanan. Was it James Buchanan?
No, it was Edgar Buchanan, for God's sake. He was president and then went on to the Star and Petticoat Junction. The 10th president of the United States, his last name could easily be a boy's first name.
A boy's first name?
Mm-hmm.
Randy.
Leslie.
Leslie. Joe, I have
look, you got 8 out of 10, and I guarantee you that most people couldn't get 2 of these. They get Washington.
Garfield. No, wait a minute. Garfield was assassinated in the late 1800s.
Right. No. Just let me know when you give up. It's just 2. You got 8 out of 10, which is really good.
Rutherford B. Hayes.
No.
Wasn't he the
Rutherford B. Hayes. No, he was after Lincoln. I think Hayes was the president right before Lincoln. And the 13th president was Millard Fillmore. So we're not even there yet.
There's a cartoon Mallard Fillmore. You ever see that?
Yes.
How about Martin Van Buren? Did I mention Martin Van Buren?
Martin Van Buren is number 8. So now you're down to the 1, which is where the last name could be a boy's first name.
See, all right. I have to tell you, I cheated a little bit because now I looked at the chat board.
Okay,
and
so
Christianopedia says Tyler.
Tyler is correct.
Is that thing? All right.
Now, if that you got the first, now that you got the first 10 through, let's go and name the last 10 presidents. You should be able to get the.
All right. The last 10. So that's good. That would be backtracking. So does Biden go on that list?
Yes, Biden's on the list.
The Biden, and then there's the guy that we had for the last 4 years, Trump.
Right.
Before Trump, there was Obama.
Right.
Before Obama, there was George W. Bush.
Right.
Before him, there was Bill Clinton.
Right.
Before him, there was the other Bush.
Right.
George Herbert Walker Bush.
Right.
And then there was Reagan.
Right.
Jimmy, I'll never lie to you. Carter.
Right.
Ford.
Correct. And finally,
Nixon.
That's it. You got those 10. That was easy.
I can even go back further than that. Nixon, Johnson, Kennedy,
Eisenhower, Truman, FDR,
Truman, Roosevelt.
Yeah, Coolidge.
You know what? It was easier going backwards than forwards.
Right. Coolidge. And I'm trying to remember the one before Coolidge died in office.
Well, what about Hoover?
I said Hoover.
You just said Hoover? Okay.
Did I? Yes. FDR, Hoover, Coolidge, and then the next one was it Taft or Harrison? Another Harrison.
What about Teddy Roosevelt?
That's 1900. You got to go back. Then you got Wilson. So you have to have Wilson, and then you have then you got Teddy Roosevelt, and there's somebody else in there too. I forgot.
Who was the one who was the non-consecutive president?
Oh, that was Grover Cleveland.
Grover Cleveland. That's right.
That we had a president named Grover. I think is so cool. The story with Grover Cleveland was that he had whether it was true or not, I don't know. But apparently, the story that was going around was that he had an illegitimate child. and that kind of played into the campaign. So he lost that, and then he ran again, and then he won again the second time. So anyhow, that was very interesting. Little history lesson there.
And here's something that you may find interesting or not interesting, but literally like maybe 2 hours before he was gunned down in Dallas, John Kennedy made a phone call to John Nance Garner, who was known as Cactus Jack and was vice president, one of the vice presidents to Franklin Roosevelt. And on November 22nd, 1963, Cactus Jack was celebrating his 95th birthday. And John Kennedy called to congratulate him. He was a man who was, a hairbreadth from the presidency. He was 95 years old. Kennedy spoke with him, and then 2 hours later, Kennedy was dead. And Garner continued to live for at least another, I think, 5. He didn't die until like 1968. It's like amazing. It's how ironic that somebody so young speaking to somebody so old, and look what happened. And Herbert Hoover, outlived Kennedy, and he died after Kennedy. He died, I think, 6 months after Kennedy's assassination in 64. And of course, Hoover's, everybody blames him for the Depression, but that's kind of interesting that FDR of course died. Hoover was before FDR, and he managed to. And now look at Carter. Isn't that amazing about Carter? Jimmy Carter, 90. How old is he? Like 95, 96?
96.
Wow.
He lives right here. I mean, he lives not here, but he lives in Georgia in a $160,000 house that he's lived in all, forever.
Yep.
He goes and what's that Habitat for Humanity, where they go out and build people's homes. He does that.
Yeah.
Very cool. And the chairman hit super chat tonight. Thank you, Mr. Scott. Bill or Jeopardy next week will be the category next week, Joe. We have to buff up on these retired tropical storm names from A to Z. So we have to steady up on those.
And he says on his message on the chat board here, next week on Bill or Jeopardy, retired tropical names A to Z. Study up. P.S. Tonight at a hospital, someone said the chairman, Frank Sinatra.
Frank Sinatra, yes, he was the chairman.
Who was the one who gave him that nickname, chairman of the board?
Dean Martin.
William B. Williams on WNEW.
Oh, Willie B. Williams. I remember him.
Willie B.
By the way,
I think somebody said that. Somebody actually said it wasn't chairman of the board; it was chairman of the frauds.
Yes. By the way, the final results of this poll, and I'm going to tell you right now that I'm going to get this before he does. Who will see a low of 40 degrees or less first? Either Joe Rayo, you got 67% of the vote, 121 votes cast. So you got 67% of the vote. I got 33% of the vote. I did not vote. I can't vote on the polls. I can only create them. But I'm going to tell you right now, I am going to win this one. I think I'm going to be below 30. I'm going to be below 40 before you, and I may even be below 32 before you.
You can hold up the newspaper when it happens. Jaffe defeats Rayo, just like Dewey defeats Truman.
All right. The Joe and Joe Weather Show tonight, brought to you by Wholesale Holiday Lighting by Giannini, your complete holiday lighting specialist, meeting all your decorating needs at 162 Ocean Avenue in Lindenhurst, New York. And their telephone number is 631-957-5106. The website is liholidaylighting.com. And you can go to the website. You can get more information on their upcoming holiday lighting open house for contractors. And you can, if you are a contractor or you want to do this as a business, you can RSVP over at the website, and then you could be putting up lovely Christmas decorations like you just saw there. And Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York, where salt is going to be front and center. Rock salt for the upcoming winter season. 631-756-1125 for the best prices in town. And the website there is Omni True Value, omnitruevalue.com. So we'll see everybody tomorrow night at 7:30 Eastern Time.
We'll be here. Make sure you're there too, Joe.
I'll be there. I'll see you
All right.
tomorrow.
Righto.
Bye.